On our wedding day, my husband led his army to annihilate my entire family. I watched helplessly as my parents were pierced by countless arrows, reduced to a pile of flesh. Yet my sister laughed freely in my husband's arms. I cursed him in my rage, only for my beloved husband to thrust a sword through my heart without hesitation, cast into a sea of flames. I lay dying when the arrogant Regent prince charged through the inferno. Yonner, I'm here to take you away. Not a single one of your tormentors will escape. Regent Prince. Why do you treat me thus? When I awoke, I found myself reborn on the day of my betrothal. Without hesitation, I turned away from the newly crowned top scholar chosen by my parents and walked toward the regent. Will you marry me? My name is Liu Hanyan, the capital's foremost scholar lady, the legitimate daughter of the current chancellor's household. That year, the Shu family fell into ruin. My father was convicted of embezzlement. My mother of bribery. Your entire family was thrown into prison. She slipped through the cracks, fleeing to the capital to seek refuge with distant relatives in the chancellor's household. My parents, moved by old ties, treated her like their own daughter. Little did they know she was an ungrateful wolf in sheep's clothing. In the 15th year of benevolent rule, the chancellor's household was accused of treason and collaboration with the enemy. The entire clan was sentenced to execution, their 9 clans wiped out, all orchestrated by Xu Qian and my fiancé Xiang Huadong. On our wedding day, 30,000 Imperial guards besieged the residence. Xiang Huadong rode in, clad in crimson, with Xu Qian seated before him, her smile as radiant as a flower. Sister, how about we consecrate your wedding with the blood of the entire residence? The clamor of battle erupted instantly. Flames engulfed the surroundings as arrows rained down. My parents shielded me with their bodies, forming a wall of flesh. Yonner, survive. Father, mother. Yet I still died killed by the swords of the adulterous couple, perishing in the crimson sea of blood that engulfed the chancellor's residence. But heaven had eyes. It granted me rebirth. In the 12th year of benevolent rule, the chancellor's mansion remained that entity above all men, beneath only the emperor. On this day, having just reached my coming-of-age ceremony, it was the day Father chose my betrothal. Father's conditions were simple. The top scholar of this year's Imperial examinations. Everything was settled, just as in my past life. The top scholar title fell upon Xiang Huadong, son of humble origins, the illegitimate child of the current chief censor. At the betrothal banquet, I arrived late, surveying the assembled princes and ministers, and Xiang Huadong and my father conversing animatedly at the center. My gaze settled instead upon the regent prince standing nearby. If memory serves, before my death, it was he who charged into the flames to carry away my body. A flicker of emotion stirred within me, but I forced myself to remain composed as I stepped inside. Yonner is here. Come see your top scholar. Mother pulled me over. This was my first meeting with Xiang Huadong. Glancing at Xiang Huadong's expectant face and the refined and gentle Xu Keiyi beside him, I could only sneer inwardly. Father, I don't like him. Words silenced the entire room. Who didn't know Xiang Huadong was both talented and handsome, skilled in both scholarship and martial arts. Even before becoming the top scholar, he was already the ideal son-in-law for every prominent family in the capital. Xiang Huadong's face turned crimson with embarrassment, while Li Qiying beside him looked almost gleeful, though the old chancellor's face burned with embarrassment. He still asked his daughter in a gentle voice, Yonner, why do you say that? Father, my heart already belongs to another. The crowd erupted once more, an unmarried maiden declaring her heart's choice. Humiliating her fiancé at their engagement banquet, this scandal would surely spread through every street and alley in no time. Having lived secluded in the mansion for years, Father could not fathom whom this sheltered maiden might admire. The atmosphere grew awkward. Watching Xiang Huadong's face darken, I felt a surge of satisfaction. I then retrieved the perfume pouch I had prepared long ago, strolled slowly to the regent prince standing absent-mindedly nearby, and presented it to him with both hands. Your Highness, is there a vacancy for a lady of the house in the regent prince's residence? At this, every person present sucked in a sharp breath. How dare Liu Hanyan propose marriage to the regent prince, a man notorious for his ruthless killings and merciless cruelty? The chancellor and his wife exchanged a glance, their faces clouding with worry. Li Chen, who had been drinking, slowly turned his eyes toward us, raising an eyebrow with mocking amusement. Oh, you admire this prince. His voice was dark and oppressive, causing everyone to instinctively sit up straight. I met his deep gaze calmly, offering a faint smile. Indeed, very well. I shall come to propose on the chosen day. His words were delivered with perfect composure. Yet they terrified the chancellor and his wife. But I beat them to the punch, cutting off any chance for discussion. No need to choose a date. Let it be today. A hint of amusement flickered in Li Chen's otherwise impassive eyes. He rose and leaned closer, so eager to marry this prince. I curved my lips slightly, meeting his gaze without flinching. Naturally, Li Chen visibly startled. Then today, before Li Chen could finish, Xiang Huadong shot to his feet. Impossible. With Xiang Huadong's relentless opposition, the matter soon became a citywide scandal, reaching the emperor's ears. In the grand hall, Father and I knelt at the center, Xiang Huadong behind us, while the regent prince sat lazily below the throne on the right. The emperor's expression was far from pleasant. Liu Hanyan, the will of parents and the words of matchmaker since. The chancellor has arranged this marriage for you. How can you go back on your word? The emperor's tone was thick with menace. In my past life, I would have bowed to imperial authority. But this time, I refuse to submit. I will make those with ulterior motives pay the price. I bowed my head heavily, my voice unyielding. This humble maiden seeks only one heart for a lifetime. To grow old together. Should I be forced to marry one I do not love, I shall dash my head against the palace walls. Insolent. The emperor's face darkened like storm clouds. Never had anyone dared defy him thus. Father, terrified, hastily pleaded for mercy. Your Majesty, please calm your anger. My daughter, confined to her boudoir, knows little of the world. This engagement matter was indeed my oversight. If blame must be assigned, let it fall solely upon this old minister. Xiang Huadong followed suit, kowtowing 3 times with force. Your Majesty sees clearly. The betrothal between this humble subject and the Chancellor's household is known to all court officials. Now Miss Liu openly breaks her vows at the wedding banquetess, this not bullying under the guise of privilege. I know my words carry little weight. Before the regent prince and the Chancellor's household, I am but an ant. Yet after 10 years of grueling study and the arduous path to becoming the top scholar, I am now made a laughingstock throughout the capital due to Miss Liu's selfish whim. My heart is filled with grievance. I beseech your Majesty to vindicate me. My lips twitched. What a masterful reversal of blame. Had I not known this man's wolfish ambitions, I might well have been deceived by his pitiful facade. Li Chen narrowed his eyes, deliberately elevating the regent prince's mansion and the chancellor's residence before the emperor. What a cunning schemer! The emperor snorted coldly. Turning to Li Chen, 8th prince, what is your opinion? Hearing this, my heart tightened. Li Chen wore an expression of indifference. Your Majesty's judgment shall be final. This prince has no objections, just as the emperor prepared to issue his decree. Li Chen spoke again, his voice slow and measured. However, the regent's residence stands rather empty. This prince believes it is time to find a lady of the house to bring some warmth and life to the place. The new top scholar is so fixated on Miss Liu that it would be improper for this prince to take what belongs to another. In my humble opinion, the Empress has a cousin who has just come of age. But before he could finish, the Emperor cut him off abruptly. Enough. Li Chen's almond-shaped eyes narrowed as he looked at the Emperor. What is it, Your Majesty? Taking a deep breath, the Emperor's gaze darkened with anger. I find Miss Liu more suited to you, and she is devoted to you. Why not seize this auspicious day and wed her today? Xiang Huadong's kneeling form trembled, eyes wide with disbelief. Father and I exchanged glances, our expressions heavy. Was the Emperor wary of the Empress' maternal clan forming an alliance with the Regent Prince? This marriage, arranged in the blink of an eye, caught the entire capital off guard. Seated in the bridal sedan chair, I clutched the hem of my robe. Partly, I felt nervous about marrying Li Chen so abruptly. Partly, I worried about this hasty alliance with the Regent Prince's household. But whether driven by personal concerns or the need to protect the Prime Minister's family, I steeled myself to take this risky step. As the palanquin came to a stop, I sighed silently. Well, it had come to this. I would have to adapt as I went. First bow to heaven and earth. Second bow to your parents. Couple's mutual bow. Enter the bridal chamber. The ceremony concluded, and I was led by the matron to Li Chen's chambers, taking several deep breaths. I composed myself and waited quietly. To my surprise, I waited until late into the night, famished. Yet Li Chen never came. Frustrated, I lifted my veil and began devouring the pastries and nuts laid out on the table, disregarding propriety. My heart was filled with resentment and confusion. What was Prince Li Chen playing at? Your Highness, the prince has retired to his study. Please rest now. The maid queer's announcement made me blink. Perhaps I had misunderstood something. Fingernails crumbled with pastry dust as I rubbed them together. A strange sense of relief washing over me. Perhaps it's for the best. Li Chen. He probably hasn't recognized me yet. Right. But fate had other plans. The next morning, as I stepped out to seek Li Chen's counsel, I collided head-on with a slender, exquisitely beautiful woman. Who are you? The woman sneered coldly, her eyes brimming with contempt. I am Su Yunjing, the Empress' own cousin and the legitimate daughter of the Wuding Marquis. I met her gaze with icy disdain, silently committing the words Wuding Marquis residence to memory, if I recalled correctly. In my previous life, the Wuding Marquis residence had also been one of the masterminds behind the case involving the Prime Minister's mansion. The searing flames and rivers of blood from that day surged back into my mind. My body trembled slightly. By the time I regained my composure, my palm had already struck the woman's face. How dare you? This is the Regent Prince's residence. I am the Regent Prince's consort, carried in a palanquin and wed by proper ceremony. Here, you must address me respectfully as your highness. Su Yunjing clearly hadn't expected me to strike her. How could she, accustomed to being the center of adoration, tolerate such an affront? The moment she regained her senses, she lunged at me, claws outstretched. You wretched woman! Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted Li Chen emerging from the main gate after court. My hand, which had been poised to block her, was forcefully pinned down. Su Yunjing's slap landed with a sharp crack against my cheek. Spoiled and pampered as I was, a lump instantly swelled on my face. Your Highness, spotting the approaching figure, I straightened my disheveled posture and bowed slightly, my voice dripping with feigned grievance. As expected, Li Chen frowned. What's going on? Su Yunjing was now drenched in cold sweat. She knew Li Chen's methods all too well. Before she could speak, I piped up softly. Yunjing is simply immature. You, Su Yunjing, overcome with fury, instinctively grabbed Li Chen's robe. "Brother Chen, I only came to visit you." Who knew Liu Hanyan would accuse me of being improper and slap me across the face? I lost my temper in the heat of the moment and struck her back. Li Chen cast a fleeting glance at Su Yunjing's pale cheek and my own half-swollen face, his expression darkening. "Do you take this prince for a blind fool?" Su Yunjing's heart lurched, and she instinctively touched her own face, now numb to pain. I sneered inwardly. I'd been frail since childhood, my strength pitifully weak. Even when I'd struck Su Yunjing with all my might just now, it had only caused momentary pain, hardly inflicting any real harm. "Get out." Su Yunjing's body trembled as she shot Li Chen a look of reluctance, gritting her teeth. She shot me another murderous glare. "You really hit her." Li Chen turned to me, his expression unreadable, though his tone softened. I murmured a quiet, "Yes." "Why?" She broke protocol. She disrespected her superiors. The Regent Prince's consort held a rank far superior to that of the Wuding Marquis' household. I'd expected Li Chen to reprimand me. After all, my impulsive slap had publicly humiliated Su Yunjing, undoubtedly bringing shame upon the Wuding Marquis' estate. This was no good for him or the Regent Prince's household. Next time you want to strike someone, have a servant do it.hm. I froze, then realized he'd been staring at my reddened palm. "Yes," I murmured my reply. Something stirred within me. That familiar sensation returned. "Your Highness, I have a matter to discuss." I waited quietly at the study door. "Enter." Entering the study, I scanned the room, finding no other chairs. I simply stood to speak with him. "Your Highness, are we not husband and wife?" Li Chen's expression faltered for a moment before immediately returning to normal. "Yes." "Then may I dare ask, why did you skip the wedding night last night?" My voice was calm, but my hand clenched the handkerchief tightly. If word spread that my husband had refused to share the bridal chamber on our wedding night, I would become the laughingstock of the entire capital, and the Chancellor's household would be disgraced. Li Chen remained impassive, his eyes fixed solely on the memorial before him. "Because this is merely a mutual arrangement. As the daughter of the Chancellor, you should understand that well enough, shouldn't you?" "Yes." I paused, my tone softening slightly. "Regarding the matter of the separate chambers, I implore your Highness to keep it confidential, should word spread. It would bring no benefit to either your Highness or the Chancellor's household, and besides, I didn't want to worry my father." "Of course." Stepping out of the study, I exhaled. It seemed Li Chen hadn't recognized me, though I still didn't know why. In my past life, he had ultimately rushed into the flames to carry away my body. It no longer mattered to me in this lifetime. All I wanted was to protect my family. That night, the bright moonlight crept onto the bedside. I lay still, staring blankly into the void. After several days together, I found Li Chen wasn't as terrifying as rumored. He displayed grace in every manner, though not exactly warm toward me. He treated me with courtesy. I smiled. Of course. Someone once so generous and kind-hearted, how ruthless could he truly be? Closing my eyes, memories flooded my mind. That was the first time Li Chen and I met. At dusk, maple leaves drifted endlessly. A white-clad youth rose gracefully, sword in hand, moving with fluid, effortless grace. Maple leaves swirled around him, suspended in mid-air, as if a celestial being had descended. I watched, utterly captivated, unaware of the danger approaching from behind. A traitor within the mansion had leaked news of the young lady's outing. Rebels arrived silently, intending to use me as leverage to threaten my father. My neck was seized with brutal force, lifting me into the air. As suffocation closed in, I instinctively flailed my legs. Just as I thought my life was ending, the white-clad youth arrived. Stepping through the wind, with a single thrust, he severed the traitor's throat. I cannot recall the chaos of that moment. Only that when I looked up, the youth stood silhouetted against the setting sun, slowly extending his hand toward me. In that instant, a seed of emotion quietly took root in my heart. Later, I fell gravely ill, and many memories faded, except for that youth in white. But confined to my sickbed, I remained secluded, and that feeling was buried. Besides, what could childhood stirrings amount to? Yet it remains one reason I chose him in this life, perhaps the lingering warmth from that final glimpse in my past existence. By his side, I always felt an inexplicable sense of security in the dead of night. Wretched screams pierced the air. The blood-red minister's residence was engulfed in flames, swallowing everything whole. I jolted upright, my forehead beaded with cold sweat. After a moment's disorientation, I realized it was only a dream. Sleep was impossible now. I rose and stood by the window to breathe in the night air. The day after tomorrow is the return visit. There's still a fly in the minister's residence waiting for me to deal with. The dream scenes flash before me again, constantly reminding me of my purpose in this rebirth revenge. Shu Qian. We'll meet again soon, for the 3-day return visit. Li Chen spared no effort to give me dignity, handling every detail personally. Even my parents believed our marriage was harmonious. Thinking about it, it was indeed harmonious like strangers, following protocol. He accompanied me through every ritual, though the customs were numerous. Not a trace of impatience crossed his face. But that fly in the Prime Minister's residence was anything but still. Sister, you are truly blessed to marry such a strikingly handsome man as the Regent Prince, Si King said, raising her cup in a perfunctory toast. I sneered inwardly. Just moments ago in the front courtyard, she'd been clinging to Li Chen like a leech, practically hanging off him, though we were not yet consummated as husband and wife. Seeing one's husband being pursued by another woman in public would chafe anyone's nerves. Since you admire His Highness so much, why not join me in the palace and serve him together? I smiled casually, feigning indifference. Li Qian's eyes lit up, but she quickly regained her composure, offering a restrained smile. That would be inappropriate. Why inappropriate? You have affection. I have the opportunity. The palace is rather lonely. An extra person would liven things up. I sipped my tea lightly, raising my eyebrows slightly, a faint smile playing at the corners of my mouth. Li Qian still hesitated, so I pressed on. My health is delicate, and His Highness ultimately finds no pleasure in me. If you were to join the household, I could rest easier. After all, your family better than letting someone else benefit. Keeping His Highness content is the only way to ensure harmony between the Regent's mansion and the Chancellor's estate. Isn't it? Her face flushed, yet her eyes betrayed eager anticipation. Then I shall humbly accept your offer. But what about His Highness? Rest assured, Your Highness finds this most enjoyable. I slowed my speech, already scheming how to treat my dear sister properly. Li Chen, who had just reached the doorway, paused, a faint curve tugging at his lips. Yaner, it's time to return. Li Chen and father had just come back from the main hall. I mentioned to Li Chen that I'd agreed to allow Shu Ying into the mansion. He nodded, saying nothing. My eyelid twitched. He seemed utterly unconcerned. Should I say he didn't care, or that he was fickle? After Shu Ying entered the estate, I threw her a lavish concubine welcoming banquet with great fanfare. She was overjoyed, convinced it was the prince's command. I shook my head. Shed let her guard down so quickly. How had she managed to spin me around like a top in my past life? I'd assumed Li Chen would skip the wedding night, just as he'd done with me. But then, the maid Queer came to report. Li Chen had gone. Wasn't this openly slapping me in the face? Even with my magnanimity, I couldn't swallow this humiliation. Beyond that, a vague ache suddenly gripped my heart. Perhaps nighttime emotions run high. In my fury, I found myself at Shu Qian's door. I scanned the empty courtyard. Whether by Li Chen's orders or not, all the maids guarding the gate had been dismissed. The lamps inside were extinguished. Yet Shu Qing's enchanting voice drifted out, filled with merriment. The last shred of my regained composure vanished instantly. I raised my hand to push the door open, only to have it seized mid-air. Before I could react, a large hand clamped over my mouth, dragging me away with such force I couldn't break free. When I came to my senses, the candlelight stung my eyes. Squinting, I took a moment to focus on the figure before me. Li Chen. "What are you doing here?" Li Chen turned, casting a faint glance at me for addressing him by name, then rubbed his wrist. Where else would this prince be? My brows lowered, my mind suddenly buzzing. Unsure, I whispered. Then who was in Shu Qian's bed? A guard. His voice held not a shred of warmth. Why? My eyes fluttered. This wasn't Li Chen's usual style. To my surprise, a faint smile touched Li Chen's icy features. He drew closer, his warm breath tickling my skin, sending shivers down my spine. What? Did you truly wish this prince to find? Pleasure, or rather, exhaustion. Each word sent a jolt through me, stifling my racing heart. I stammered. You heard everything. Li Chen's smile vanished, replaced by a meaningful gaze. He walked around to the desk, sat down, and began reading the memorials. My mind went blank, unable to decipher the depth in his eyes. Si Qing holds no grudge against you. If your highness claims this was done for me, I truly cannot believe it. Would he help me without any ulterior motive? Shu Qian has a shady past. And you brought her back with your own agenda. Hosting lavish banquets to lower her guard, he merely gave things a little push. Suddenly, I found myself at a loss for words. He truly had no hidden agenda. After a long silence, I managed to say, "Thank you." Shu Qian was pregnant, the father unknown. Thus, the oblivious Shu Qian began running rampant in the Regent Prince's residence. One moment Shed seized my maidservant to attend her villa. The next, Shed snatch my cook. Then Shed throw tantrums and make all sorts of unreasonable demands. When Li Chen was present, she had shown some restraint. But these past days, with Li Chen dispatched to suppress bandits outside the city, she grew increasingly bold. Sister, His Highness is so considerate, asking you to vacate the main quarters. Yinger tried to persuade His Highness, but he wouldn't listen. Yinger had no choice. You know how frail my constitution is. She even stroked her slightly rounded belly as she spoke. My cold laughter shattered the silence. My patience had reached its limit. As the princess consort. How could I be unaware of such an order from His Highness? Besides, the prince has been away for days. How did he bypass me to arrange for you to occupy the main quarters? My gaze turned utterly icy. Queer at my signal. Queer stepped forward and struck Xu Ying across the face. Su Ying looked up in shock. When she regained her senses, all decorum vanished from her face, replaced by fury. You wretched servant! How dare you strike me? Her maid was already pinned down. Queer grabbed Xu Ying by the arm and delivered another slap. Now Shu Qian was utterly bewildered, yet her gaze toward me was murderous. Qian, I recall when you first arrived at the prince's residence. The matrons taught you the rules. I sipped my tea leisurely before setting the cup down. Attendance. Concubine Shu has committed insubordination and disregarded propriety. Administer the cane punishment. Su Qian instantly turned pale, panic-stricken. Liu Hanyan. You can't do this to me, I'm carrying the prince's child. I rubbed my temples in irritation. Enough noise. Queer understood and stuffed a filthy rag into Xu Liying's mouth. Xu Liying was hoisted high in the courtyard, her hands and legs bound to wooden stakes. Terror filled her eyes as her body trembled uncontrollably, shaking her head repeatedly. I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The bludgeoned scene from the Chancellor's mansion flashed before my eyes once more. Carry out the punishment. Guards wielded whips, striking with ruthless speed, showing no mercy. Pain made Xu Ying tremble violently. She collapsed unconscious before 20 lashes were delivered. My gaze turned icy as I signaled a guard. Wake her. Ice-cold water poured over her head, jolting Xu Ying awake. I rose slowly before her, yanking the rag from her mouth. Given a chance to breathe, she gasped for fresh air, but her mouth remained as foul as ever. Liu Hanyan. I carry the prince's child within me. Treating me this way. The prince will never forgive you when he returns. Her eyes burned with malice, but I paid it no mind. I pinched her chin, leaned in close, and let a smile touch my lips, though it didn't reach my eyes. Oh, is that so? Liu. Before she could curse me further, my hand shot out and struck her face. As she clutched her stinging cheek, I commanded again. Continue beating her. Leave her half alive. Pei voice was soft, yet every guard and maid in the courtyard bowed their heads, dared not lift them. Ah! Xiu Qing's wretched cries echoed through the streets and alleys. Everyone believed that I and the ruthless, cunning Regent prince made for each other. Li Chen returned, no longer the spirited young man who had left. He was covered in wounds. I waited by the door, watching the maids carrying in and out buckets of bloody water. My hand clenched tightly around my handkerchief. Half an hour later, the Imperial physician emerged, trembling. I hurried forward. How is His Highness? The physician bowed. He is out of grave danger, relieved. I hurried inside. The maids had been dismissed. Sitting by the bedside, I raised an eyebrow at the bloodless Li Chen. Well, what happened? Li Chen opened his eyes, a gloomy aura emanating from him. Let us. Divorce. My heart skipped a beat. Your Highness intends to cast me aside. Li Chen turned his head away, his expression hidden, but his words carried an air of feigned indifference. You've lost your usefulness. There's no need for you here. I understand. I feigned indifference, tilting my head to look at him. But did the Emperor strike against you? The Emperor feared Li Chen's military power. Now that the Regent's mansion had allied with the Prime Minister's family through marriage, he likely harbored intentions to eliminate him long ago. Li Chen whipped his head around, a hint of shock in his eyes. Clearly, he hadn't expected me to be so blunt. His answer, however, was unexpected. No, my brother is not so foolish. Hearing this, I chuckled softly, though inwardly I mocked myself. If he weren't foolish, how could he have exterminated my entire family and my previous life? If not His Majesty. Then, the Marquis of Wuding's residence. I straightened up, twirling a handkerchief in my fingers. Yet doubt gnawed at method turmoil at the Prime Minister's residence in my past life hadn't touched Li Chen. Now it seemed he'd been implicated because of me. In contrast to my calm demeanor, Li Chen grew restless. Rumor has it the minister's daughter, secluded in her chambers, knows little of the world. Now it seems that was merely a cover. Then there's the rumor that the Regent Prince is ruthless and cold-blooded, stopping at nothing to achieve his goals. Now that trouble has struck. Isn't he pushing me out first? I feigned deep thought. Moreover, the Wuding Marquis household has always been at odds with the Prime Minister's. Now that I have the prince as my powerful protector, they naturally wish to eliminate you first. Then the Prime Minister's household to cover everything up. Li Chen's grip on the quilt tightened. He turned his face away, looking slightly uncomfortable. This prince has ways to protect you. Seeing his awkward expression, a warmth I couldn't explain washed over me. But I don't want to. The Prime Minister's household cannot escape unscathed. As its legitimate heiress, I cannot evade this fate. I lowered my head. My heart stirred. Besides, no matter what, you are my husband. Though we've never consummated our marriage, we've always treated each other with respect. How could I bear to watch you die for nothing? Besides, this sudden calamity was most likely caused by my marriage into the family. Li Chen smiled. Die for nothing. It won't come to that. I'm not that weak. I gazed at his bright, handsome face and found myself lost in thought for a moment. I cleared my throat uncomfortably. Father has uncovered numerous sordid deeds the Marquis of Wuding has committed in secret over the years. Since we're already in the same boat, why not join forces with Father directly? Also, I paused. Regarding Xiang Huadong, hell, likely ally with the Marquis of Wuding. You must be cautious. I Chen offered no further comment, but his gaze held an inexplicable depth as he met mine. Agreed. Xiang Huadong had married. To whom? Tosu Yuning. It was all as expected. My eyes drifted to the tea on the table as I sank into thought. In my previous life, the Emperor had secretly bolstered Father's faction to counterbalance the Empress' maternal clan. Yet Father, devoted to the nation and its people, though aware of the Emperor's intent, deliberately avoided direct confrontation with the Marquis of Wuding's household. But the Marquis of Wuding was no pushover. He repeatedly sabotaged Father's efforts until Father, pushed beyond endurance, submitted an official complaint against him. The Emperor seized this opportunity to secretly suppress the Marquis of Wuding's influence. The Marquis of Wuding, petty and vindictive, later colluded with Shang Huadong to fabricate evidence of my father's treason. Ultimately, the Prime Minister's residence was bloodily purged. My fingers tapped lightly on the table as doubt lingered in my heart. The Emperor had always held my father in high esteem and trust. How could a single piece of false evidence shatter that trust? Fabricating evidence of treason is no easy feat. Unless... What are you thinking about? I looked up at the person who had entered. Why did you get out of bed? Shouldn't you rest a little longer? It's just a minor injury. Nothing to worry about. Completely snapping back to reality. I looked down and saw familiar sachets hanging from his waist. My face flushed. Why did you suddenly start wearing it? Li Chen shrugged indifferently. It was given to me by my princess consort. Naturally. I should wear it. Me, cheeks flushed even deeper, seeing my reaction. Li Chen's heart stirred. Yawner. Actually, Before he could finish, a maid rushed in, interrupting him. Your Highness. Your Highness. It's terrible. Concubine Shu has taken her own life. My brows furrowed deeply. Dying like this was far too easy for her. When we reached the woodshed, Shu Liying lay covered in blood. A gruesome sight. Of course, I'd played my part merely, having guards occasionally attend to her with whips. A quarter of an hour later, the estate physician knelt before Li Chen. Your Highness, Your Grace. The child in concubine Su's womb is lost. I shot the physician a piercing look. Hadn't the child in Shu Liying's womb been lost long ago? To deliberately mention it before Li Chen, what malicious intent. Understood. You may withdraw. Li Chen's expression remained impassive. His tone even tinged with coldness. The servants nearby instinctively stiffened. The prince truly was cold-blooded and heartless. Good fortune never comes in pairs. But misfortune piles up. Just as Shu Qian's matter was settled, 2 more flies buzzed in. Li Chen and I sat in the main hall, watching Xiang Huadong and Su Yunjing approach with their invitation cards. The former wore a radiant smile, while the latter's eyes practically glued themselves to Li Chen. Xiang Huadong was remarkably patient enduring this lifetime, and likely enduring it in the last as well. It must be quite a hardship for the top scholar to personally deliver the invitation, I said, my smile forced and cold as I watched them. Li Chen's expression wasn't much better, though his icy demeanor remained as handsome as ever since this man had shown me favor. I found myself growing more and more fond of him. Not at all. It is an honor for Yunjing and me to personally deliver the invitation. Xiang Huadong rose and bowed. The invitation has been delivered. Yunjing and I shall. Before he could utter take our leave, wails of anguish pierced the courtyard. Li Chen and I exchanged a glance, instantly understanding. Your Highness. This. Xiang Huadong looked troubled. I smiled faintly. An unknown servant girl dared to speak back to me. I merely taught her a lesson. But then, Su Qing suddenly screamed at the top of her lungs. Your Highness. Your Highness. Our child is suffering. Li Chen's face darkened instantly. Head intended to dismiss the two before him. But Su Yunjing charged forward, pointing an accusing finger at my nose. Liu Hanyan. What heinous deed have you committed now? Speechless. I opened my mouth to retort, only for Li Chen's commanding voice to cut through the air. How dare you? When did my consort become someone you can point fingers at? Su Yunjing flinched, her earlier defiance vanishing. Chen. Brother. Silence. I glared at her, then turned to Xiang Huadong, my eyes hardening with contempt. Mr. Xiang, please keep your wife in check. Shacking another man's husband as brother is hardly appropriate. Xiang Huadong's eyes darkened as he bowed. Your Highness is correct. Su. Yunjing still wanted to retort, but upon seeing Li Chen's expression, the words died on her lips. Whether Li Chen was simply annoyed by the commotion or not, his face darkened as he ordered the guards outside. Bring her here. Su Qing committed adultery with the guard, violating moral principles. Execute her by beating. Su Qing lay half dead as she was dragged onto a bench. Blood stained her body as she struggled desperately, pleading, Your Highness. Your Highness. I didn't. It must be that slut Liu Hanyan. She framed me. She dared insult the princess consort. Cut out her tongue. Li Chen's icy voice sent a chill through everyone present. The guards moved swiftly. With a swift stroke of the blade, blood spattered, and her tongue fell free. Su Qian's screams turned into muffled whimpers, her gaping mouth making her appearance all the more terrifying. Next, the courtyard echoed with the sound of flesh being torn. Su Yunjing watched it all, her face pale, her body trembling slightly. I secretly observed Xiang Huadong's expression. His face remained impassive, his eyes even showing disgust. He truly was a ruthless man, if my investigation was correct. These two had been involved even before Xiang Huadong passed the Imperial examinations. After dealing with Su Qing, I watched Xiang Huadong and Su Yunjing's retreating figures and softly called out, Your Highness. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in my eyes. Xiang Huadong is the illegitimate son of the chief censor. I Chen instantly understood. I see. No, sooner said than done. Ever since Li Chen and father joined forces completely, the Empress' maternal clan could no longer sit idly by. The first to bear the brunt was the Marquis of Wuding. Just look in Su Yunjing's wedding day. The Marquis of Wuding couldn't wait to eliminate us. After downing the third cup of poisoned wine, I was exhausted. This Marquis of Wuding was far too impatient. The words "I will kill you" were written plainly across his face. A cornered dog will bite, Li Chen murmured softly in my ear. I lowered my gaze. Has your Highness and father uncovered something? Yes, Impatience flickered across Li Chen's face too. My mind raced, and I whispered in his ear, "Your Highness, would you like to leave?" Li Chen turned, his expression easing slightly. "Do you have a plan?" "Yaner, the Emperor should have sent someone to assist us." "Right," I asked. "Uncertain." Li Chen nodded. "Rest assured. My brother's men have been protecting us in secret." I smiled softly, then collapsed with a thud onto the floor. The noise was loud, causing immediate chaos. "Yaner." I lay weakly in his arms. "Your Highness, it's all because Yaner is so delicate, causing hardship for the child within." Truth be told, Su Qing's words worked like a charm. Li Chen tightened his arms around me. A faint, almost inaudible chuckle drifted down from above. Li Chen murmured, "Very well. Let's return to the mansion." Little did I know, news of my pregnancy spread like wildfire. The Emperor actually believed it. Facing the Emperor and Empress before me, I forced a smile. "This humble maiden greets your Majesty and Her Majesty, the Empress. No need for formalities." No need for formalities. The Emperor's face beamed with warmth as he immediately began inquiring after my health. The genuine concern in his tone felt sincere. I couldn't mistake that. But the memory of how he had exterminated my entire family in my previous life still left a deep wound in my heart. Several times, the Empress tried to have the Imperial physician take my pulse, but Li Chen skillfully refused each request. After all that, it turned out to be a false alarm. That night, I pulled Li Chen toward the bedchamber. After all, to steal my nerves. I drank alcohol for the first time in my life. After extinguishing the lamps, fueled by the wine, I suddenly pinned him to the bed. "Li Chen, it seems we must turn this charade into reality. Otherwise, the Prime Minister's residence will truly be wiped out." A faint smile curved Li Chen's lips. His hand slid to my waist, pressing me firmly against his chest. "This isn't a charade, but I wouldn't mind making it real," his deep voice murmured in my ear, sending tingles racing through my body. I suppressed my pounding heart and swallowed hard. This man really knew how to work it. A kiss landed on my lips, slightly domineering, yet tender. I closed my eyes and clumsily returned it. So warm, so soft. So this was what kissing felt like. His hands grew restless, beginning to explore my body. I yielded to his strength and slowly lay back. Just as he was about to proceed further, I stopped him. Li Chen looked at me blankly. My eyes grew clear, my tone serious. "If you take me, you must never betray me. Li." Chen smiled softly, leaning down to kiss my forehead. "If I betray you, kill me with your own hands." I curved my lips. "It's a deal." News of my pregnancy spread, sending the Empress' maternal clan into a frenzy. The Emperor's affection for his younger brother, the Regent Prince, was common knowledge. If I, the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household, bore the young heir, the Empress clan would face unprecedented threat. To ensure my safety, Li Chen guarded me day and night, even bringing me along when he entered the palace to see the Emperor. The Emperor eyed me suspiciously. "Eighth Prince, what is this?" "Your Majesty, I cannot bear to leave Yaner alone at home," Li Chen stated plainly. The Emperor seemed to understand. "Very well. The princess consort may wait in the side hall." Just as I rose to leave, Li Chen pulled me back to my seat. "Stay right here, Eighth Prince." The Emperor frowned. "Women are forbidden from meddling in state affairs. Chen remained unyielding. Yaner is no exception. The Emperor was about to erupt in anger when something occurred to him. He sighed and tacitly accepted Li Chen's stance. Since marrying Liu Hanyan, this younger brother of his had finally begun to show signs of life. Let him be. I couldn't fathom the Emperor's true thoughts. But I marveled at how his affection for Li Chen surpassed even the rumors. Listening to their discussion, I grasped one crucial point. The emperor still trusted the chief censor. So, risking punishment, I interjected at the opportune moment. Your Majesty, I dare say the chief censor cannot be trusted. The emperor was clearly displeased that a woman dared comment on state affairs. He did not erupt in anger, but countered. On what grounds do you say this? I straightened my posture. Neither humble nor arrogant. My expression grave. The Marquis of Wuding will soon join forces with the newly crowned top scholar, Shang Huadong, to accuse the Chancellor's household of treason. But Shang Huadong is the chief censor's illegitimate son. The fabricated evidence they present will cause your Majesty to lose all trust in the Chancellor's household. This humble maiden suspects the chief censor is the ultimate mastermind behind this scheme. The reason they possess such convincing forged evidence is that the true traitor is not my father, but the chief censor himself. Presumptuous, the emperor roared in fury. Empty accusations. Do you have proof? To slander an imperial official and frame others is a capital offense. I immediately knelt, and Li Chen knelt beside me. Yet my voice remained neither humble nor arrogant. Your humble daughter dares not. Every word spoken just now is the absolute truth. You, a woman secluded in the inner chamber show, could you possibly know? The emperor snorted coldly. At that moment, Li Chen's reassuring voice rang out. Your Majesty, the evidence is in my possession. Eighth brother. Is this true? The emperor's expression grew grave. This is no trivial matter. Li Chen's gaze was unwavering. It is true. Back at the prince's residence. Father had been waiting. Yaner. Rest assured, everything has been investigated exactly as you described. I smiled with relief. Yes. On the day of my rebirth, I had already met with Father privately and revealed everything the Wuding Marquis household had done in my previous life. I had initially doubted Father would believe me, but to my surprise, he accepted my words without question. He did not press me on how I knew these things, only telling me to relax and fulfill my role as the daughter of the Chancellor's household, leaving everything else to him. The Marquis of Wuding and Shang Huadong could no longer sit idly by. They allied with the Empress' maternal clan and accused my father of treason and collusion with the enemy. Just as in my previous life, they presented irrefutable evidence. And the emperor, in a fit of rage, ordered my father's arrest. Yaner, rest well at home. Leave the outside matters to me. L. Chen looked at me with some concern. I returned a reassuring smile. Is everything truly under control? Li Chen nodded. His Majesty understands perfectly well. This imprisonment of the Chancellor is merely a diversion. You needn't worry too much. I embraced him. All right. On the day of my return visit to my parents' home, Father attempted to win Li Chen over. I had assumed he sought to leverage Li Chen's influence to pave the way for the Chancellor's household, but later, Li Chen revealed to me that Father had only one request that day: protect Yaner. This was also one reason why. After the Wuding Marquis mansion ambushed him, Li Chen rushed back and immediately sought a divorce from me. There were many things I didn't know, but I firmly believed that in this new life, the Chancellor's mansion would not suffer unjust deaths again. The next day, irrefutable evidence exposed the Wuding Marquis' corruption, bribery, and illicit salt and iron trade. The emperor ordered his entire household executed. Where is Xiang Huadong now? I demanded of Li Chen, my eyes burning with hatred. Li Chen's voice grew grave. His Imperial Majesty decreed that the chief censor's family, guilty of treason and collusion with enemies, shall be punished by extending the punishment to 9 clans. The entire household is to be executed. Xiang Huadong should be in the Imperial prison now. I smiled. Xiang Huadong. Xiang Huadong, everything you did to me in my past life, I now return to you in kind. Upon reaching the Imperial prison, Li Chen dismissed everyone. Dim candlelight, a damp cell, heavy chains, and Xiang Huadong lying on the floor like a dog. I grabbed his collar, the memory of my parents dying before my eyes in my past life flooding my mind. Xiang Huadong. Long time. No see. Confusion flickered in Xiang Huadong's eyes. We've never met before. But you seem to hate me intensely. I didn't respond. Only a chill in my eyes. Your Highness. If I take matters into my own hands, can you handle the fallout? Though Li Chen didn't understand my deep-seated hatred for Xiang Huadong, he respected my actions. Yonner. Do as you see fit. I took Xiang Huadong away and locked him in the palace's basement. Day by day, I scraped away the flesh from his body, bit by bit, until only white bone remained. His tendons had been severed, leaving him crawling like a beast. You poisonous bitch. You poisonous bitch. Ah. Li Chen crouched down and took his tongue. His eyes filled with concern for me. Yonner. Let's go. The horrifying images of my parents' deaths flashed through my mind again. I didn't know how many times I had woken up in the middle of the night like this. Everything had settled. Yet these nightmares still haunted me like ghosts. Only this time, I wasn't alone beside me. Yonner. Did you have another nightmare? I nestled gently into Li Chen's embrace, murmuring a soft, His soothing voice lulled me as consciousness began to fade. The rest of the night, I slept soundly. Thankfully, I had been reborn. This lifetime, the Prime Minister's household would not repeat its past mistakes, and my parents would remain safe and sound. Your Highness, why are you so kind to me? Li Chen, who had been reading memorials, paused in surprise. I continued. At first, Your Highness felt nothing for me. When did Yanner find her way into your heart? Li Chen smiled at the question, his memory drifting back to that midsummer day. Miss, might I sit before you? Li Chen approached cautiously. Sunlight filtered through the gauze window, illuminating the girl's sweet face. Her voice rang like a silver bell, clear and enchanting. Though she didn't look up, busy with something at the study desk, Li Chen glanced over. The words "The Cloud Wilderness Collection" caught his eye, and he couldn't help asking, Is this? The girl paused her writing. As she looked up, her eyes crinkled with a smile, sparkling like stars. Holding the book, she introduced it to Li Chen. This is a collection of poems I wrote. If you're interested, young master, you're welcome to take a look. Very well. From that day onward, the two exchanged letters frequently. They conversed about ancient and modern times, discussed the heavens and the earth, and even competed in poetic skill with great ease and comfort. One day, Li Chen invited the girl to meet him at the study. This time, he was determined to learn her name, but he waited from morning until dusk, and from dusk until nightfall. That figure never appeared. Later, he wrote to her intermittently, yet the letters he sent vanished without a trace. He buried this affection deep within his heart, nearly forgetting it altogether. It wasn't until the daughter of the Prime Minister's household sought his hand in marriage that the image of the girl from his youth reappeared in his mind. Only then did Li Chen realize he had never forgotten her. He had only intended to use the Prime Minister's hold. But on the day of the return visit, an old book lay on the Chancellor's desk, its title clearly inscribed, The Cloud Wilderness Collection. It turned out he had never missed her. A string in my heart trembled, meeting Li Chen's gaze. Tears glistened in my eyes. But I loved you even earlier. Li. Chen's expression froze as his mind frantically searched for every memory connected to me. Yonner. I laughed softly and told him about our encounter in the maple forest. Li Chen pulled me into his embrace, his tone tinged with hurt and self-reproach. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I smiled, lifting my head to leave a kiss upon his lips. I was overjoyed to meet you again in the study. But I also realized you had forgotten me. Back then, I was frail and still so young. I thought I'd wait until I was older to tell you, but in my past life, Father had chosen a match for me, a marriage arranged by parental decree and matchmaker's words, to ease my parents' worries. I buried the stirrings I felt for Li Chen deep within my heart. In Li Chen's eyes, I truly revealed my feelings after growing up because I defied my parents' will for him, publicly demanding marriage on the day of my betrothal. Thank goodness. Thank goodness, I agreed to you. Li. Chen held me tighter. He couldn't bear to imagine how others would have viewed me, the daughter of the Prime Minister's household. Had he refused my proposal back then? I lifted my hand to wrap it around his neck. And that last time you stood me up, I think it was because I caught a chill and ran a fever. After that, my parents worried about me and restricted my outings. Our letters stopped too. Li. Chen shook his head, a blissful smile spreading across his face. Thank goodness you truly married me. I smiled knowingly. Yes. Thank goodness. After all the twists and turns, it was still you. 5 years later, Li Chen looked at me with pitiful eyes. Yaner. Can we? Tonight. I cut him off. Xinger is here. No. His expression instantly hardened as he glared at the little bundle in my arms. Li Yixing. You sleep alone tonight. Xinger puckered his lips, refusing to back down. No. I want Mommy. Li Chen then reached his claws toward his son. I rolled my eyes and tossed Li Yixing onto the bed, leaving the two of them to wrestle. Just as I was about to step out into the courtyard for some air, the announcement came. His Majesty the Emperor has arrived. Li Chen stopped wrestling with his son upon hearing this, scooped up Li Yixing, and joined me in greeting the Emperor. We pay our respects to His Majesty. Need for formalities. No need for formalities. The Emperor waved casually, strode forward, bent down to pick up Xinger, his eyes nearly crinkling shut with Joe Y. By dear little Xinger, have you missed your Emperor? Xinger naturally wrapped his arms around the Emperor's neck. Yes, I missed my Imperial uncle. With that, he planted a smacking kiss on the Emperor's cheek. Aw. The Emperor beamed like he was bathed in spring sunshine, watching the unusually harmonious interaction between uncle and nephew. My heart swelled with emotion. Suddenly, Li Chen took my hand. Yaner. Let's go. Galloping on horseback, Li Chen led me to a maple forest. It was late autumn, with crimson maples scattering their leaves, returning to the earth. Yaner. This is where we first met, isn't it? I softly murmured. Then dismounted. Li Chen wrapped his arms around me from behind, turning to meet his tender gaze. I smiled softly. Li Chen. It's so good to have met you. His almond-shaped eyes curved like peach blossoms, filled with countless stars. Me too. It's so good to have you. The wind stirred the falling leaves. Our lips touched. In this lifetime. I am truly happy. The end.